Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today, guys, we are jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at the most recent price action and what I think is likely to happen next. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. It really does help the channel out, pushes the content out to more like-minded individuals. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will not miss another video update. Right, let's get right down into today's video. We'll kick things off with the 1 hour time frame. So here we have Bitcoin paired up with USDT, and we are using Binance as the data source. As you can see, this correction is quite an interesting one. It does look like it has broken down quite nicely here. So let's go ahead and just check a few things. You can kind of see that we were kind of tagging out quite a few of these areas. It looks like it's kind of breaking down quite nicely. Very limited amount of touch points on any trend lines here. If we were in a parallel channel, it broke down very, very nicely from here. Taking a look at our structures here, let's go ahead and just pull in here just a tad further. I'm going to take this entire measurement from down here, okay, to that high that we had. We're going to pull this over onto here, and we can see that we've come down right into that expected range between 1 and 1.236. Could still come down a little bit more if it needed to. Just to kind of put that into kind of context, we could see a low around 36,894 to 37,092. So right here, you can see that we tapped into it. We've got some real good buying pressure here. You can see how we're holding that line at the 200 EMA. So it's possible that we are just complete at this point. I'll show you what that looks like here from a wave count point of view. It's just like this. Okay, so for the most part, it looks like it is kind of complete in here as well. I would say that there's still possibly a little bit of a move to the downside, but it's looking okay. It's looking strong. If it does, it does. But for now, it looks like it's holding that 200 EMA nicely. We obviously will be battling the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, but for the most part, looking pretty good here for the next move upwards, which will be that kind of move up towards, in my opinion, that kind of 39. 180 to 39,714. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for there. Now, from our stochastic RSI on the hourly, it's still got some progression downwards for sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean that price has to go down. We are oversold on the 4 hour, oversold on the 8 hour, and obviously we're still progressing upwards on the daily, which we'll talk about in a moment. So that's looking good. Divergence indicator, nothing major, but we have got a lift on that RSI, so that's all okay. No problems there. And the volume profiles started to just spike up here to get some buying pressure in. Okay, so looking good on the hourly. Not much more to really say there. It looks pretty good. Let's take this out to the daily. The daily is the one that's most interesting to me. We can see we've got a little bit of lift on the stochastic as we are looking to target out that kind of $39,000 to $40,000 range. It is the fifth wave of a fifth wave, and ultimately we are tracking, I believe, to be the fifth wave of the fifth wave of the fifth wave. Let me show you what that looks like without overcomplicating anything. We kind of see here that I think we're doing something like this. So we have a diagonal inside a diagonal, and we're finishing off that fifth wave. So there you go. You can kind of see it right there. So that's kind of where we are. Now, we are above the 200 EMA, that's the white line, above the 50 SMA, that's the yellow line, above the 50 EMA, which is the red line, right? So we're stacked up quite nicely. Price actions above all of those. The shorter time frames are above the longer time frame EMAs, and all that's looking good. We've got the bullish structures on the smart money concepts. All of that is fantastic, but it doesn't look as good as what has just been printed the last few days here on our divergence indicator. Our divergence indicator is giving us a hidden bullish divergence. Ultimately, I think everything here is now looking quite nice for that move upwards towards $39,000 to $40,000. So everything's kind of gearing up for a big move, in my opinion. So Bitcoin's looking to kind of finish off its structures before we can get into what happens next, which obviously will be a move to the downside. But for now, it looks like it is gearing itself up for this rally. We are targeting out $39,000 to $40,000. That is the range that we are kind of targeting. Now, it may overextend and above and beyond that. It is possible to do this. However, I think for the most part, realistically, I think there's going to be so much selling pressure up at that $40,000. It's unlikely that it's going to push through it, but if it does, fantastic. Let's take a look at the weekly. The weekly still is in its bearish structures. These haven't changed, and these are obviously, bigger macro pieces to that of the daily and what we've been talking about. So this is what is to come once we finish those daily structures. And we are in an ascending triangular wedge to the upside, bearish pattern. We do obviously acknowledge that we are in higher highs, higher lows, which have a tendency to want to break on down. We have an overlapping structure that isn't giving us a clear clarity as to the moves to the upside. We can also see that we are overbought on the weekly, overbought on the monthly, indicating that momentum is running out to the upside and we are likely to see a shift to the downside. We throw the divergence indicator on there. There's nothing major here outside of that hidden bullish divergence that took us up into this one on the weekly time frame, overbought on the RSI as well. So all of that is bad. Now, when we take a look at the volume, which apparently is not what you want to see. Let's see if I can get this to actually be. No, it's not going to work. I'll have to take that one offline. The volume profiles are clearly on the wrong one. Let me actually move this to the pane above, and hopefully that will then scale accordingly. Not really scaling accordingly. I'll have to sort out the scale on that one. But yeah, for the most part, everything here is actually looking quite nice. Let me just put this back to regular. There we go. And so, yeah, so we kind of have that. We can kind of see everything that's kind of going on from our weekly standpoint as looking quite bearish. Now, obviously, there are some bearish scenarios here that do play us out to sub $10,000. But realistically speaking, before we can kind of even talk about those, we have to appreciate that we've got support at 30 to 31,000. We've got support at 24, 25,000. We've got support at 20, 21,000 and so forth, right? So obviously price isn't going to just, in my opinion, go straight down like that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to see some kind of support levels kind of come in, find some resistance, kind of move on down, and we're going to kind of work our way. I don't think we're going to see like a major kind of move to the downside straight away, but I do expect us to kind of have some kind of choppy kind of movement to the downside, bullish kind of, movement in itself, because it's not going to be in the same way that we saw previously where we had these kind of straight line drops. I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to mirror kind of what kind of structure we had here, a very choppy corrective one, coming back down until eventually we do get those more straight line runs, which I think will come in 2024, potentially. We'll call it 2024. I think it will be 2024 by the time we start seeing those movements. So all in all, that's kind of where I think things are. I don't think there's a lot more to kind of talk about outside of everything that I spoke about yesterday. If you didn't check that video out, you should check it out. It's on the channel. Go in and have a look. I kind of go through everything on Bitcoin on a macro scale and on-chain data and all that kind of stuff. But from a price action, quite boring over the last couple of weeks. But I think we're finally getting somewhere for a bit of a swing move to the upside. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, but I'm going to leave the video right there. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Link is in the description below. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.